This video will cover square numbers, square roots, cubic numbers, cube roots, and index notation. Now, as you can see, we have a square here, and it's 2 units in length and 2 units in width. So another way of writing this is 2 squared, 2 to the power of 2. So 2 to the power of 2 is the same as writing 2 multiplied by 2, which gives us the area of this square, and that, of course, equals 4. Now another square number, as you can see here, is 4 units in length by 4 units in width. And the way that we would write that is 4 to the power of 2, 4 squared. And we would write that 4 multiplied by 4. Note that it's 4 multiplied by 4, not 4 multiplied by 2. And 4 by 4 is 16. So the definition, therefore, is that any number that is multiplied by itself produces a square number and can be written using an index of 2. So, for example, 5 squared is going to be 5 multiplied by 5, which equals 25. Now, if you were to use your calculator, you would enter the number and then press the squared button. So this is the squared button here. So, for example, if you were to calculate 15 squared, you would type in the numbers 1, 5, and that hit the x squared button and then the equals button, and that should give you an answer of 225. So I'll ask you now to pause your video while you calculate on your calculator 11 squared, 21 squared, and 43 squared. So the answers to this: 121, 441, 1,849. If you did not get these answers, can you please ask your teacher to explain how to use your calculator? So the first 10 square numbers, and these that you should be able to recognise straight away. So 1 squared is equal to 1, 2 squared is equal to 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared 16, 5 squared 25, 6 squared 36, 7 squared 49, 8 squared 64, 9 squared 81, and 10 squared is 100. So you should be able to recognise these from your times tables because they're all the number multiplied by itself. For example, 7 by 7 is 49. So the definition of a square root is the opposite of the square number and is shown using the square root sign. So again, we look at the square and we can find what 2 numbers multiplied by themselves came up with that final number. So the square root of 4 is 2 times 2. We're just looking back the other way. Square root of 4 is equal to 2. Here's our same square that we looked at before. 16, what multiplied by itself gives us 16? It's 4 and 4. So we would write the square root of 16 is equal to 4. If you want to calculate this on your calculator, first of all you click the square root button. So this is the button first. Once you've clicked that, then you can enter the number and the equal sign. So if you wanted to find the square root of 121, you would click this square root button, type in the number 121, the equals, and then you would come up with your number of 11. So please pause the video now and calculate the square root of 121, the square root of 225, and the square root of 727. So the answers are 11, 15, and 27. So again, if you had problems calculating these with your calculator, please speak to one of your teachers. So as we did with the square numbers, you should be able to identify the first 10 square root numbers. So the square root of 1 is 1, of square root of 4 is 2, square root of 9 is 3, Square root of 16 is 4. Square root of 25 is 5. Square root of 36 is 6. Square root of 49 is 7. The square root of 64 is 8. The square root of 81 is 9. And the square root of 100 is 10. So now we're going to look at cubes. So again, the word cube comes from the shape, the cube. So here we have a cube which is 2 units by 2 units by 2 units. So therefore it's a 2 cubed. And we would write this as 2 to the power of 3 because we're multiplying this number 2 3 times. So 2 times 2 times 2 is the same as saying 2 cubed, and 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. So the definition of a cubic number is generated when a number is written 3 times and multiplied. So here's an example. 4 cubed, 4 to the power of 3, is 4 times 4 times 4, which equals 64. The index used for cubing a number is 3. Index is this small number which is up the top. If you want to cube your number using your calculator, the first thing you do is enter the number, then you click this button, X, with the small box at the top, and then you'll enter the index. So this is the number because it's a cube number, the index would be 3. Then you enter the equal sign. So if we were to do 15 cubed, we would type in 15, then click on this button, X to the box, then type in the number 3, and then type in equals. Now I'll ask you again to pause your video while you calculate 11 cubed, 4 to the power of 3, 13 to the power of 3, and minus 2 to the power of 3. Make sure that you use your brackets when you're calculating your minus 2. So the answers to these questions are 1331, 64, 2197, and minus 8. Minus 2 times minus 2 becomes plus 2, and then plus 2 times minus 2 equals minus 8. So the definition of a cubic root is the opposite of the cubic number, and it's shown by the cubic root sign. To calculate the cubic root, you'll use your shift button, which is here. So you press shift and then you press the square root button, which is here. Then you'll enter the number and then you'll press the equal sign. So to find the cubic root of 343, you would press shift followed by the square root button, followed by 343 and the equals button. And you would get the answer as 7. So again, can you pause this video, calculate the cubic root of 1331, 64 and 2197. And the answers you should have are 11, 4 and 13. Finally, index notation. Index notation is a shorthand way of writing a repeated multiplication. So for example, we have here 4 to the power of 5 is a shorthand way of saying 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. That's 5 lots of times 4. And the answer to that would be 1024. 7 to the power of 4 is 7 multiplied by itself 4 times to give you 2401. And 10 to the power of 5 is 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. So that gives you 1 with 5 zeros. So that's an interesting thing to note. Whenever you're doing 10 to the power, it's simply the number of zeros. So here you're going to end up with 5 zeros. If you have 10 to the power of 7, you would have 7 zeros in your answer. If you needed to calculate this on your calculator, you enter the number, then you press this button, X to the box, enter the index that you need and press the equal sign. So if you were to do 5 to the power of 8, you would type in 5, then click this button, and then press on the number 8, the index 8, and the equal sign, and you should get 390,625. So can you please now, in your calculator, calculate 11 to the power of 3, 4 to the power of 6, 13 to the power of 1, and minus 2 to the power of 8, making sure that you put your brackets around the minus 2. And your answers should be 1,331, 4,096, 13, and 256. Whenever you're using an even number index on a negative number, the answer is going to be positive. Whenever you use an odd number, you're going to get a negative answer. So as I mentioned before, whenever you're using indexes to the power of 10, all you need to do is add the same number of zeros. So 10 to the power of 2 has 2 zeros, to the power of 3, 3 zeros, to the power of 10, 10 zeros, etc.